Teachers, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You listen live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT this Sunday, the 25th of February, 2018.
25th?
Yes.
Ugh.
So fast, it happened so quickly.
Too fast.
So, yes, welcome to the show, everyone. So, you are listening. Okay, yeah, sorry. Adjusting things as I'm going rig back upstairs after having it downstairs this weekend for a Game Fest. So this is kind of a modified Game Fest show compared to what you would normally see in that it's Game Fest, but I'm not still in the basement with everyone else down there, and so instead I'm bringing it back to you how we normally do the show. Thought that would be a little better this week. So that's what's going on. So, hey everybody, sorry that I'm a little late getting started. I had the computer do the normal nuke and destroy itself once I got things set up initially, like, hey, I'm good, and then, no, I'm not. That's alright though, we got it. Also, if you're watching the stream, you can see now that we don't have a Ken on. That is because he messaged me letting me know that he had just gotten back from traveling and had been home for all of about an hour or two, and as he put it, is knackered. And so was hoping I could handle the show without him. And I think we'll be good. So throwing that out there, and hopefully you guys are fine with just those of us. But the nice thing is we are joined, as we have been many times, by good friends Akko and Hide My Air in the studio with us. And so should make the show go fun and good as everybody is ready. So good to go. With that, we're going to go ahead and kick things off with a little bit of
Dysfunctional deviations.
So, this week on Dysfunctional Deviations, yes. Oh no, Grayfield, you can always talk about I've been socializing the entire concept of Anime North with the group here, and we're trying to figure out who all is heading up there. I think we have at least a solid 2, if not 3, right now ready to go, and then we'll see if others jump into that as well, because it is definitely con season. I was not here last week when Ken hosted things because I was at said con. Hide My Air and I were both out in the DC, Maryland area last week for KatsuCon, which is a massive convention, especially for cosplayers.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's at the Gaylord Resort over in the DC, Maryland area, and it's so pretty, and everyone just brings their A game, and it's... So not only is the location absolutely gorgeous, but everyone's cosplays are just... on point.
Spot on. Dang
like,
good.
Ridiculously over the top, detailed, and gorgeous, and they're just wearing them like champs. Good stuff.
Yes, and so thankfully Ken was able to pull things off with a little bit of remote assistance last week. He admittedly had an issue where I think he hadn't set up the stream quite right for YouTube initially, although it went out fine for Twitch. And so I was able to thankfully step aside at the con and via my phone log in to everything I needed to do to set up a proper stream for the YouTube account and get the show going a bit later there. But you can watch the whole thing on Twitch, I believe. And so you should be good that side if you want to catch the beginning part and see Ken's struggles. But did end up doing that, so it's nice that I could have a moment to do remote tech support for the show. Yay, smart devices. Being able to do something like that. Also, let's see, I guess Dysfunctional Deviations. I don't know if he'll be able to go much as we do in the past with things that aren't geek, considering when we do a Game Fest, you get geek. Hyde, is there anything else you want, or like, what do you want to talk about Katsu as a whole? Because that's basically what we were doing.
Yeah, that's been pretty much our life for a little while. Heck, I just had a really great time. It was absolutely gorgeous. 10 of 10 would go a third time.
Yeah, this was my first time. This was your second.
It was really exciting showing you around at all the really cool, beautiful locations there. Like, there's no part of Katsu that is not just absolutely gorgeous, and all photographers, it's a playground.
Yeah, I've already seen some amazing photos coming out. I've even seen if people follow my Predictably Ham page on, in this case, probably the Facebook one, and you can also find on Instagram. I was at least captured in one video. Hey, So there was that.
That was really cool too, and you looked fantastic.
Basically in my Thomas Jefferson cosplay from the Hamilton musical, where a British videographer that was running around, because that's the other thing, there are people who travel from around the world to go to Katsu. It's a really neat convention. And now that I've been and now that I know something about it, I'll probably, if others are trying to travel that way, help give heads up how that can happen. But it's very pretty, and it's unlike where I've talked about Dragon Con and such being a massive, massive convention for everything you might ever want to do in geekdom. This one is it is focused on anime, but it's really more of a cosplayers con, in that I will say I saw more people in cosplay than not throughout the convention. And I don't know if I can really even point to any of the costumes that weren't top notch, that weren't just simply amazing. And Greyfield, how you're talking about that with, I follow some of the big cosplayers who are at the con. Our friend, oh crud, what's her cosplay name? Melon Dreams.
Oh,
Our friend Melon Dreams cosplay that also went with me follows a lot of those same, like, I don't know anything, right? I don't meme, I don't know all the famous people unless it's like other podcast type stuff or like old school podcasters and stuff like that or tech guys. But Melon Dreams was able to point out several like famous cosplayers or people
And just
that
like
were
walking by them, like, oh hey, that's this person on Instagram, and they just have like a crowd of people around them, like excited to meet them and like hug them and just chat. And I'm like, oh,
I
check that out. Oh,
where I'm like, huh, who?
it's like that's a good face over there. That's a good cosplay. Let me go find them
Yeah, and
on
so
the Instagrams.
there are quite a few of those that show up and just looked phenomenal. And
Absolutely.
we had a surprisingly large group, for me at least, I wasn't expecting, of people from Colorado that went out to Katsu. I think when you get that kind of hype from people who've been before and have had a good time, they, all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I need to put that on my list. It's what happened to me,
Katsu's a really great one, and you should put it on your list.
right? And so with that, go to Katsu. So it was really neat for cosplay. Really neat to see just the kind of different characters. And like any convention I've found, especially when you go regional, because we're so used to in Denver having just so many conventions that we forget sometimes, how many go on elsewhere. And because of that, you get used to kind of the look and feel and the people and stuff that are all in our own conventions. So going to one that was elsewhere, it's neat because one, Hyde and I went, and our first day we were cosplaying together as Tempest and as Capper from the My Little Pony movie that everyone should go see because it's great. And in doing so,
We discovered that on the East Coast, or at least at Katsu, ponies aren't a thing.
Huh.
So, it was really interesting because, like, we went through the dealer's room. Like, that was the day that we went everywhere just to, like, do the dealer's room, do the artist alley, quick walk around. It's probably going to be the most comfortable we're going to be all weekend, so we should just walk. And it was just really strange just because we found, I think, a total of 5 people cosplaying ponies.
something like that. But, we saw some pictures and video later that there may have been another 3 or 4
Yeah.
at the con all weekend.
In total, all 4 days combined.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's, I don't know. There's little things that just kind of come off any of the conventions, but that was kind of interesting. And okay,
Another one of the interesting things. Sorry, it was the feel of Katsu in general. Here in Colorado, since we were just talking about that, we're used to people like, oh, let me stop you and take a picture of you. Like, I really like your costume. Like, let me just quick, it's like hallway shots. Like, you're walking through the hallway and just quick it against the wall. I want a picture of you. That doesn't happen at Katsu. It's just like generally assumed that everyone is on their way running to a photo shoot, so no one stops anyone for photos unless it's like late at night or they are not familiar with the area.
or if they find like a costume,
Or if they find something the
absolutely
one.
are losing their stuff over.
Like when I found that one Midna and I lost my hecking everything. It's
Yeah.
great.
Well, and
Or like the other 2 Sheiks. Or it was Shadow Link and Shadow Sheik.
nice, yeah, because I saw a few others that were not the regular.
Yeah.
Zelda
They did
stuff
the
you see
Smash
every
Bros. Monochrome versions.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting that it is different like that. At the same time, though, for me, it was about the same because I am that photographer who will just stop people like, hey, I really like that cosplay. Because in the whole weekend, I only had one person, I think, turn me down for a photo. I think I only had one person who was like, no, I'm doing blah, 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 something. I was like, okay, whatever, peace.
Yeah.
I'll move on.
But it was such a weird feeling because, like, I almost forgot about that going in, and it was like, why is no one stopping anyone? This is really weird. Everyone's just going.
Yeah, people are all over the place, and it is so beautiful that a lot of people schedule actual shoots.
Yeah.
constantly, and there's so many places around there to do shoots that you are traveling. Just inside the convention center, the hotel itself, to out and around it and all the different just areas. There's so many just places that have great views. And so there's people running around. I took a handful of photos. I don't know. I wasn't doing as many as I normally would. And so when I finally get to editing, I have a lot of, hide because we were running together, and some of like the Colorado groups and stuff that I've seen there. I did well, I think, at least on Saturday when I was my Jefferson. I had the thing where people enjoy Hamilton enough that
That was really awesome.
that when they actually recognized the costume and saw who I was, I got what I felt were some pretty strong responses.
So it was interesting walking with him while he was in Jefferson, walking around like the dealer's room. Like some people were like, hey. We go to the artist alley. If you're unfamiliar, it's like where all the artists generally vend their particular art, not like big companies selling their like figurines and stuff. Everyone, like every other table, was losing their mind. They're like, Jefferson, oh my god, yeah! It was so good. It was fantastic. It was really exciting to see, like, and everyone knew who he was off, like, just sight.
And I did have a couple people, like, chase me down, essentially, that did the, oh, hey, that's...
Just, oh, wait a second, come back.
Yeah, there was one specifically when we were up at the upstairs. I might have been walking with Melon Dreams. Upstairs, where I had walked by the gazebo in Katsu, for people who know, it's kind of the top floor where people tend to take photos, and all the cosplayers will post and wait for photographers to come get them, or set up all the big shoots because people are waiting to do the gazebo shoot and stuff like that. And it's where it gets some really good lighting in there, so it's a really nice place to shoot with natural light. But I did the kind of loop, because you get to the other end of it and there's nothing there except for elevators, really. And then so you kind of loop back. And so I had done the loop, and I was just on my way back, about halfway back towards where the escalators and stuff are to get to the other floors, when I had someone come running through the crowd to grab me from behind, essentially, and like say, hey! And like turn around like, oh, it's like, Jefferson! We've been seeing you, and I've been looking for you this whole time, and I saw you across the way, so we had to come chase you down. I need a picture so bad. And so I'm very fortunate that I do choose a couple cosplays that when people do see them, they get pretty lit up about. And so where I didn't have everybody stopping me or anything like that, the people I did were very appreciative. And it's funny because a lot of them said things like, I'm such a theater nerd. It's like my, I did theater in college and so oh my god, this is great. I had at least one person go the whole like, you are a beautiful person. Thank you for this, and things like that. So I was, at least I got some impact out of my costume, which made me happy.
It was really fun to see. And you lit up. They were all lit up. It was great.
Come on, I enjoy that kind of attention.
Well, yeah,
admittedly.
no, for sure. Like they know exactly what it is. Like it's the perfect thing. Like when someone can nerd out over something with you, like on that close of a level, like I've seen and I know the thing. It's great. It's awesome. It's a wonderful feeling. That's how I find fellow nerds in cosplay. I'm like, you know your stuff. Let's talk.
Yeah. It's something, yeah, so, I mean, that was a lot of fun, and like I said, hopefully my pictures will come out great from it, and you guys will see. I did actually, and the other nice thing, so there's a difference in what fandoms or what kind of things are popular on the other side of the coast, and the same kind of experience I had going to Anime North, where there's just different things people are interested in, because they go hard for, like, gaming up there. If I'm not mistaken, Grayfield, that they really do, like, they know games, and so I see a lot of costumes from video games up there versus just anime. And because it's things I've joked about before with Denver, there is a much stronger presence of diversity at Anime North, which I saw some of at Katsu as well, where I say they had entire groups of like Final Fantasy characters or different groups that look exactly like the characters because, I don't know, they're Asian and stuff like that, or different anime and things like that. And so I saw more of the clone kind of things where people playing to their strengths than I've seen, especially around Denver, which is really cool. And so it's something, and generally what I would say is I recommend to everyone, definitely go and try to get to some out-of-state, out-of-country cons if you can. It's just such a refreshing feeling, especially if you've ever felt a little stale in your home area, or where you've done that, seen that, you know everybody there. Get out and go somewhere else, and you might get a little more reinvigorated with what it is that initially brought you in, and the kind of things that you really love about those scenes. And so, yeah, as Greyfield says, Anime North is essentially a gamer community.
Because that one's interesting. I mean, obviously from my side,
Tales of Zestiria.
Zenko and I didn't go, but we're considering Anime North, mainly because we're finishing up the Tales of Zestiria group, hopefully. And the goal would be to enter it in the cosplay competition, which is an international level competition that we're pretty... we at least think
Tales
Zenko
needs
can
to
compete
be
on that level.
internationally known. That cosplay needs to be seen by
And
a
it is
wider
a
group.
game, so that could be something important
when-
if she can get them all powered out by then. She's already
Nice.
about 1,000 work hours into the 6. So, yeah, I've got another few hundred left.
We are here to support.
Yeah, at this point, because people who are not actually entering in the competition, you can't have the costume made no one can help more than 10% on that kind of costume. And so we're all like, well, I think we've all reached the point where we couldn't possibly reach 10%, all of us
Yes, if
combined.
all of us were
so where can we help? And there's still not a lot of things. Just she's working so hard. It's so the costumes are so intricate. We're gonna have to get some serious detail shots on all of those because it's reverse appliquing, like beading, hand embroidering.
She's nuts, but we think she's suited for an international level competition if she can. I mean, the last time we tried to get it done for A-Kon last year, didn't quite manage that because there was just too much details, so she wasn't happy with how they were.
Yeah, no, they weren't ready for actual
No.
judging. I mean, we took them out and people were able to see them. The judges looked at them and were like, dang. Even though they weren't done, they were still like, dang.
The judges were floored by the amount of work that went into the pieces that were not yet done.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that goes. But yes, so we are looking as a potential ad is Anime North. Admittedly, those, I'd say the Melon Dreams, myself, are trying to press heavily. So, Greyfield, how much room is in that room? You like friends. So yeah, it would be...
Plus 6.
Hey,
Potentially.
lower them costs, right? But
I really do want to go. I just got to make sure that I can do that because that wasn't a con I initially planned for, so I didn't really
I understand.
financially plan that.
I wasn't
bit.
either.
So
Same.
like, I really want to though. Like, I can see if I
get
can cut some other stuff out.
Need to get our passports done again.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think my passport's still good
Check
from the last time I went to
passports
international.
and yes. So we'll see, but yes. And welcome to those who haven't been in the chat before for a while. I see a Wrath in there and a Tom Bad Guy. So yes.
Hello,
And
welcome.
so I am definitely So there's at least 2, if not 3 of us that'll be making it happen, up to 6. So hey, we'll talk further about that, Greyfield. Yes, we'll get that set. Anyhow, but also, so that's kind of the con thing and what's been going on, and some of what we'll be going forward with more of. Other things I want to discuss. Let's see, we have plenty of time, so it's one of those. As I was still logging into things and finding the messages and stuff that I'd sent myself from news, because we will have news later in the show this week. Woo! I do have some things I definitely want to bring up, but I also wanted to. Okay, so not worried
There
about
we
that. All right. Top of the hour, since we're talking gaming and we may talk some more Game Fest things. We need to talk about kind of what we did this weekend with it. This being a slightly modified show, again, most of the people have actually evacuated Game Fest earlier than normal. Like, I always try to tease, and I'm in the basement, and we watch people pack up and sneak out behind us as I'm doing the show, and you'll see them on camera like, don't look at my face.
No one can know I'm a huge nerd.
Exactly, because who else would see this cast but huge nerds?
Yeah, guys.
And so they're bailing, of course, which is fine. But we actually had more people leave us. Now, granted, this was a modified Game Fest. This was a much smaller Game Fest, and I did this on purpose. Normally, this would be our big, raucous beginning of the year Game Fest because everybody's birthdays that happen. But having had Zenko Akko move in and Hyde spending time here a lot, we've had a lot of differences in space available. And so I made a conscious decision to limit how many seats were available by keeping spaces that we've taken over now for guild hall type things, for 3D printing, for sewing, all the stuff for creating that we're doing downstairs. And so I basically cut off the whole back of the basement from where people would normally sit, and then just focused people at the front. And so really did not have the space I would normally have, and thus limited how many people could come.
Because we got now 6, 7 different sewing and/or embroidery machines down there. 6
six
3D
printers that are active or right there with
the
the laser cutter.
The resin printer.
resin printer that we still.
Exactly.
I need
All
to get
these
to it.
and our projects and things we need to continue to do. And plus, I had a whole setup where I was doing soldering and things like that to fix things and bring them together. And so all of these things going on that we don't have the space. And so while some people had some heartache over it, I made it a smaller invite list. And one of the things that happens with Game Fest, and I understand people's enthusiasm, I love hosting it and that I like people having a good time, is that this is a core group of friends that I've been gaming with for nearly 20 years. And so some of them have been gaming much longer. We had a 25th anniversary for them a few years back.
Nice.
And it's because they've known each other since high school, middle school in some cases. And one of the problems is I'll have people that come to Game Fest and they really do have a great time. And the problem is they get so enthusiastic about it, they're almost the next day saying, so when's the next one? And the challenge is I do have a kind of preferred list that I defer to the people who have been doing Game Fest for 20 years first. Because Game Fest isn't mine. It was theirs first. I just started hosting it better because I created the right environment for it. And it would
Wired
be,
your own everything into the floor.
yeah. And so I thought it would be horrible if I ever just was selfish enough to bring in people that are newer to Game Fest over them. And these, again, have been friends of mine for just as long. And so I feel a little bad for those who weren't invited, but at the same time, you got to understand these are people that I have been gaming with and have known longer than some of the people I know have been alive. So it's a real thing. And it's my house, and I'm selfish, and damn it, I'm going to make my own decisions on how that works sometimes. And so I had a lot of people who were very enthusiastically looking forward to it, and so I tried to limit who was aware that this was happening this time. I will likely at the next Game Fest hold a big open one again and kind of fill the space and really show a lot of love for it. And it'll give us more chance in the household to just kind of lock down how we're doing everything and maybe a little more permanent home for some of the projects we have going or easier ways to move them. And so just heads up to those, because I did have a few people ask, like, what? That's going on? I was like, yes. And I'm not trying to throw it in anyone's face, because it wasn't that it's anything wrong with people. It's that I really didn't have much space and was just keeping it down. So heads up to people who saw it were like, anyhow. But with this Game Fest, and that it was smaller, it was interesting because we didn't blitz as many games as normally would happen.
We were like all playing Diablo. All of us.
So what I witnessed...
We had like 8 people playing Diablo, and then we'd split it up for half Diablo, half League of Legends, and like a slight dash of PUBG and a slight dash of Fortnite, which I never got to play.
So I only
Little
played,
bit of Overwatch.
I only played Fortnite for a moment. I played Overwatch for a moment, but
I
not with
downloaded it,
anybody.
like I'm ready to play it. I just didn't get the chance because we were playing
well,
Diablo.
I played it for a moment to get ready to play it, and then didn't play it.
So I mean, on that grounds, season 13 did just start in Diablo
Yes,
at
yesterday.
6 p.m. our time. On the 23rd, 2 days ago now.
Oh, was it
23rd.
2 days ago? Was it on Saturday that started? Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, Friday? I thought it was yesterday. Huh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was Thursday. I was trying to make a character, and it was like, why can't I click the
that's right, it was
seasonal
the first
button? Is
time.
that not possible? And so season 13 dropped, and so all of us were trying to slam out our seasonal characters and get them up to level 70 really fast. And that was super fun because we had 8 people that we could just mix teams with to try to spike our levels real fast. So that was definitely an awesome experience. I haven't actually had a full team in Diablo before.
That sounds
Wow.
cool. Because I was planning, so I had gotten Diablo 3 for console, and I was able to get it for like $20 with the base game and the Reaper of Souls edition. I mention this because I got really pissed off this weekend at Blizzard because of kind of how they were treating it. So I was, maybe wanted to get in on the Diablo 3 train. And so I was actually looking to buy their game. Now, their shop is kind of a disaster because it doesn't tell you what exactly you're getting. So I had to submit a ticket. Turns out, if you do their free trial or whatever, and you buy the game from there, it's $20. If you want Reaper of Souls, that's an extra $20. And if you want the Necromancer, that's $15 on top of that. So to get all the content, you're looking at over $50. Now they said, oh no, that's okay. We have a battle chest where they'll sell both Reaper of Souls and the base game for $30. But then you're still looking at $45.
That's the one I got, but that was forever ago. Yeah, so I don't have the Necromancer.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't have...
It looks super cool, and I would love to play that just for the storyline of the Necromancer, but I have to play more often to justify it.
Because I was going to say, I had it on PS4. I got it for $20 for the expansion.
For everything, right?
Yeah, for basically everything that came up to that point. And if I had to pay $45 for it on the PC, heck to the no. I mean, if it was $20 for Reaper of Souls and, Diablo, yeah, sure. The challenge is you have to buy the base game and then the expansion, is the way they explained it.
Yeah.
If you buy the Reaper of Souls, that is just the expansion. You can't play it unless you buy also the base game. So I was just kind of fuming for a while. I'm like, no, screw you. I'm not going to buy that then.
No, and I understand that. It's like, come on, guys, enjoy your fans. I keep saying, Microsoft's done it best, although we've talked about how they're killing their own console doing so. You buy something on a Microsoft, Xbox One title, and it's already available to you on your PC through the Windows Store. And so most of their titles are cross. And it's like, do that. I bought a license to play this thing. Come on, please don't limit me. It always bugs me. But yeah, so we played Diablo 3 was probably the #1 game played. And groups doing that. I got to jump on it a little bit. It helped me start getting through some of the stories because I've never finished the game even the first time through.
Yeah, so we'll have to finish ramping through the story, because at that time I was like 30 levels above him, so we set it on expert, just blasted through everything so he could get the plot points. We'd stop for every cutscene, and then we just blast through it some more, just get through the storyline really fast, so...
Babysitting. My brother and I had done that with each other. We would just kind of create a character that we wanted, and then the other one would be a really high leveled, so we'd just babysit.
Oh, yeah.
On a difficulty that was just kind of impossible normally.
Yeah, we were on
so just not
expert. I
don't
couldn't quite do
die.
Torment 1 by myself.
So just don't die as the
I think we made it
babysitted
to
babysat.
Act 2. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
so,
we made it just into Act 2.
So hopefully I can jump on this train at some point. This is another one where I was way behind because at the time, Torchlight 2 was my bag because I hated how Diablo 3 was launched and what Blizzard was doing, and I'm admittedly a Blizzard hater for a lot of what they do. Now that's been patched and fixed and became a better thing, I can now support Diablo 3.
Good.
Now that they fixed it and got away from like real money auction house
Yeah.
BS
Yeah.
and all the things they do. And once they stole all the good from Torchlight, it was finally a game I'd want to play.
Yeah.
Blizzard. And so now I'm okay with it. But it also means I'm behind everyone because everyone else has played this game for years. And I'm like, hey guys, I
Hey,
kind of remember
it doesn't
Diablo
take
2.
a lot to catch on, though.
That's true.
I mean,
Like,
I
you're
only-
already there. The only reason you were even stunted on that is because I was killing everything before you got there, but
I killed a few things. Hey,
you did. You held your own. It was just very terrifying because I put you on expert.
Expert is so easy in that game.
It's true.
Everyone started an expert. The game is terribly
Yeah,
So
the
I can't
levels
do-
below expert should not exist.
it's true.
I cannot do a solo rift on Torment 1 yet, though. So I have to stay on expert so I can get up there.
But I mean, that's Rifts like after
It took me
you-
45
those
minutes to
game
get halfway
challenges.
through a rift.
But
Oh
that-
my
but
god, someone
rifts
else
are-
had to hop in for me.
Rifts are after you've beat the game.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna play the story, play it on
Yeah, but,
expert.
like, I
if-
just want
unless-
good gear. There's-
The bonus is
gear.
also you get better gear, you get better XP, things like that.
Yeah.
But my challenge is when I tried to play the game on normal,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cry. It was so boring. I played with my feet on the side, one hand on the mouse, kind of barely clicking things because you never got close to death. So play
Yeah.
on expert. Blizzard, you're terrible. You should never have had the lower versions.
Doc Dead's opinions do not reflect those of the others in the room.
Hey, reflects mine.
Ha!
I grew up on Demon Souls, kid. You don't know difficulty.
This is about kind of like get good. Hey, I don't know. I had that from when I played it in the beta and was like, come on.
You only adopted the You Died. I was born in it, molded by it.
Anyhow, but yeah, so I'm still way behind in the sense I've never even finished the storyline, and so eventually, hopefully, we'll get to that point where I can play the game that everyone else is playing.
Oh yeah, so on that note, it was one of the discussions that we did have while trying to level ourselves up by just doing rifts, and just, since everyone else was ranged and I was the monk, the only non-ranged one, I died so consistently. And so I decided that on my actual gravestone when I die, I'm going to have etched in it, "You have died. Your items have lost 10% durability." Because I saw that so many
That's funny.
times.
Yeah,
See, well, that's something I miss from Diablo is the fear of death.
true.
And so I am hoping to get to a point where I can start playing at a level that it might happen. So yeah, anyhow.
So there's that one. Then the other Blizzard one, I picked up Overwatch.
Yep, which
I think
you were
for
playing a
another
little bit.
day or two, I think it's still $20.
Which
That's
is
a
good.
worthwhile one. If you buy the Game of the Year edition, you're kind of dumb because you're just getting 10 loot boxes and some other random
Freaking loot
digital
boxes.
stuff. So the base game's $20. The Game of the Year doesn't really give anything of value.
It's a $30 box.
It's $30. So I picked it up for $20. It's kind of interesting, and this could be me with nostalgia goggles, but I kind of like the balancing of Team Fortress 2 better. And I know people are about to shoot at me.
But Hats has been around a lot longer.
It's true. It has been. So it's got a lot of its bugs worked out. It's interesting to see because Overwatch is kind of fun, and there's a lot of decent balances between the characters, but there's also a lot of, I don't know, duplication of
Okay.
what characters can do, rather than being in any. I mean, some of them are specialized. Some of them do really interesting things, but as a whole, because they have larger kits, because they have larger, stuff they can do, you kind of see duplication. So it's at least in role, and then you have people like they all pick the same things. Like you have the legendary, the guys with all the stars and the fancies. They all pick the same ones. So if you're in a random game, you're guaranteed to see some crazy people kind of obliterating you with those particular, those same ones. It's a little bit kind of, okay. So there's definitely a quote-unquote meta in the sense that you're gonna see those like 3 or 4 every game per side, and then a couple random people who don't really know what we're doing and picking up different characters.
Yeah, me? What?
In Team Fortress 2, for reference, I played Pyro, especially back when they were underpowered. My brother and I never realized they were underpowered.
I played the hell out of Pyro. Pyro was fun.
Because
That and Engineer.
we would always get hate for playing Pyro by the enemy team because they were so mad. And so my brother and I always thought Pyros were overpowered, but the overall community thought they weren't until they were buffed. But I don't know. It's just me. Maybe we're just the obnoxious trolls. Actually, no, we are the obnoxious
I was
trolls.
like, is there any question?
I was gonna say, that sounds exactly like every story you've told me of how you and your brother play games.
Yeah. Spy check everywhere.
Medic
Fire.
battles. All medic battles.
God,
Thanks, Grayfield.
one of my favorite
Saws.
things ever
Saws
was
everywhere.
one of my favorite things ever was doing the spy check. Everyone, right? And oh, you're on fire! Ha! Die!
You're a bad pyro if you didn't spy check. I mean, you have no excuse not to just randomly flame everything in every corner. And then if you play spy enough, you know where the good corners are, and so you flame those corners and you piss off the enemy spies. It's great.
Yeah, stuff like that is so good. So good. Well, it's weird because I haven't played Team Fortress for far too long. And it's one of those that I think I can't now because I've been out of it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's like so many games. The meta keeps continuing and I don't keep up. And so I don't think I can go back to it, but it is such a good quality game. And is it completely free now? Or is it still like, what, $2? I don't know.
I mean, so the funny thing is, and I talk about it like I'm being disheartened, I still maintain a fairly respectable KD and team contribution. It's just not as high as I'd like. So it's still around, 3-4 to 1, but it makes me unhappy dying as much as I do.
Oh man. So yeah, but I mean, Overwatch is the prettier, newer, shiny,
Yep.
and people have been loving it. I enjoy it. I know I don't play any of the characters effectively, and I haven't played it seriously. I've been able to do Diva a lot. My Zenyatta or whatever is pretty good, and I try to pick up some other roles and try to figure them out. But I need to just go in bot games forever. I tried to do Trebahor or whatever his name is, Trebahor. I forget his name. Basically the engineer that can create a turret.
Yeah.
And I am not good with him. Not. I've seen really good ones played. That's not me.
It's all right. He's not great, honestly, because I tried playing him. Actually, I ended up liking Bastion better because he's much more mobile and more resilient. He can heal himself, and so I ended up playing him. Reaper's fun.
I do like Reaper.
I like Reaper.
Yeah.
I've played what is his name, McCree.
Yeah.
He's pretty fun to play, especially when you can just massacre an entire team.
I tinked around with a couple of the characters, just a few that I knew, just to try to get a feel for it. I didn't have a lot of time to actually play, so I never left the practice these characters mode. But
Characters with self-healing are actually pretty solid, I've noticed. Unless you've got a decent team who actually know how to heal properly.
Yeah.
Which is always frustrating. So Soldier 76, he's good. I liked him. He's pretty all-rounder dude. Just a bunch of random stuff. I ended up liking Roadhog.
Really? I cannot use Roadhog to save my damn
He's
life.
hilarious. You just run it, grab
Oh,
someone, and
I've seen people who are so good with
smack
it.
him
I
on the
just
head.
can't do it. I tried once or twice and was terrible.
run out into the middle of nowhere, just kind of waddle out, getting shot, then you just heal up and waddle out, get shot again, grab something. It's a good
Yeah,
time.
I'm so not good with him. No. Like, I wanted to try to pick up Genji a little bit because I thought I might be able to do that or something, but I don't know. I need to figure it out. I'm so bad. Like, I'm the worst because I can heal with Zenyatta because it's like, hey, I'll throw a heal ball on you and now fight, fight, fight. Oh, heal ball on you. Fight, fight, fight. Where I can't Mercy to save my life. I am terrible with all the rest of them. Like, I
was gonna say,
I'm okay with Lucio.
Okay.
I'm okay with Lucio. And unfortunately, we didn't this Game Fest really get to play any Overwatch. But again, it was because the ones people were already playing.
3 of us here play Overwatch.
And so, well, and again, it's
FYI.
because everyone I know is so far into it that when I play, it's like, "Grr." Like I've jumped on a few games with Dawn in times with Widowmaker, and she's really good. Plays the hell out of the game, streams and such. And so I'm always like, well, here I am to bring your team down. Let's go.
Me, anytime I'm on anyone's team.
Well,
League
and
of
I-
Legends.
I've
Yeah.
done
You did fine,
all
though.
right. I've done all right, but so I haven't played enough. Granted, I haven't been gaming enough. One of the benefits of this weekend, and actually it felt like this weekend went super fast for me,
Yeah.
is that I did play some games. I actually played board game. I played some Rock Band. I played games of. I did PUBG, a little bit of Diablo with it. I got to do League of Legends with some of the people there. And so I actually gamed more than I often do, where I'm usually too busy hosting and running around making sure everyone else is having fun that I forget to actually do anything myself. And so the weekend flew by, at least for me. It was like here and done before I knew it. League of Legends, we just did ARAMs because, one, I don't know how to play anything else other than ARAM now. And so, yeah.
I can teach you guys. I did some ranked on my own, but I was able to try to captain an ARAM team a little bit. It wasn't too bad.
Well,
I died so many times.
It's just timing. So ARAM is good.
Hello, my
training.
name is Overextends.
Yeah. ARAM
Yeah.
is good to nail down the mechanics of your champion and the mechanics of a team fight. About learning some of the timing, when to go in, when to not go in. So just kind of,
When to not go in.
honestly, that's kind of 3/4 of it. And then the remaining quarter is knowing when to go in. But then that can apply when you're ready. We can then do actual ranked teams, and we can, if I'm still support maining, I can try to captain those.
Will you ever not be support maining?
So in order to get anywhere in life, you can't actually be a support main. So in order to climb out of this, miserable place called Silver, you have to maintain a
Silver's a place I haven't even seen.
a carry.
I
So
went to
I'm
Silver
usually
once.
in gold. I can't manage to get to plat as a support main because there's only so much you can do. So I should be in plat, and normally until I hit my nasty, bad luck spirals, the ELO tends to be up there. It's just I can't manage to get those consistent 5 wins. Or it's not 5 wins. It's now what, best of 3, best of 5, something like that, to actually climb in, to claw my way into platinum. Because support main, you really depend on the team.
You have to. I mean, you're supporting.
Yeah.
It's like
So, I mean, most of that gameplay is bailing out your ADC who's being dumb, and the other half is either abandoning some guy who went in too early, or maybe, if you think you can do it, try to jump in and turn the
and
fight
save
around.
it. Yeah, it's deciding when it's appropriate. See, my challenge when I was support is I always tried. I thought it was my role as support to try to be the one who died instead of the ADC. And so I would almost always try to get in there, and unfortunately too often would end up both dying. But it was like, I'm here for you to live, because I
Right.
am not supposed to be doing damage.
Right. So some of that is, and that's what makes the support a challenging role, because you gotta know when to just throw yourself under the bus to let your ADC get out, and when to just let them die because of their own stupidity.
That's the classic healer concept from any game. I mean, the stuff you do in even a WoW raid, where it's like, oh, rogue, you're gonna take the aggro because you weren't managing your DPS. Have fun with that. You're not getting heals. Heals are for the tank. And yeah, those kind of things. It works itself out. It's eventually they learn, or just yell and flame and yell at you.
They usually flame. It's always the support's fault. Always. No matter what happens.
How dare
Top
you?
lane got ganked. Support's fault. Why weren't you warding support? It's the laning. We're only 5 minutes in. What the heck?
Yeah. Oh no. So hopefully, and my goal is things calm down from this weekend and continue to ramp up for all the cons that'll be happening, is to find time to actually get into a rhythm of gaming again. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because yes, I would love to continue through and actually see the rest of Diablo 3 storyline and other things I've talked about for games and stuff, because I don't do it nearly enough. So thank goodness for a quick Game Fest weekend. So other than that, League, let's see, what else did I see? PUBG was fun. So admittedly for my story, because I don't think you guys got to PUBG at all really.
Nope. We were
Campo
shirting.
Campo and I started, which we'll talk about later. Campo and I were starting from Thursday when he gets, because he's very excited always. And yeah, exactly, Grayfield. Heals are for people who don't stand in the fire. For everyone who gets that reference in WoW. But in PUBG, I actually had surprisingly good success in that game. Campo and I started playing that Thursday night real quick, and in the first night we played the matches we also played Black Ops 2. I had 4 matches, I want to say, Thursday night, and in all of them our team ended second or better.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I will never see that.
So we had like 3 that were second place, like just there, and then a straight chicken dinner where we destroyed, where all 4 of our squads survived to the end. And
Wow.
lived, all 4 of us, like, high five together, guys, bam, we lived through the whole thing.
I gotta say,
That's
when
awesome.
I play, for some reason, I'm usually the bad luck magnet. So the entire squad, I'm like, I'm behind Cup, and I just get obliterated somehow. It's like, alright, avenge me, guys, again.
Nice.
I just gunned down my teammates. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last
we
game
should
fest.
change your gamer tag to Betrayer or something.
Betrayer.
Hide
Watch
my
your back.
betrayal.
Perfect.
So,
No, hide my error still works.
yes.
Because you hit all the bodies of all
My-
your teammates.
Oh no, I felt it really distinctly in the back of my head. But
All I
they,
saw was someone approaching me. I didn't want anyone approaching
Heaven
me.
forbid, friends, right? What? And so, anyhow, what was I gonna say? The PUBG part, then we played a few more games of it throughout where not quite as much success, but it was neat having people actually playing the game to win versus just playing to be ridiculous, I guess. Because I've had that in the past when people were still learning, and it made PUBG very frustrating for me. Like,
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, there are some stories. But this one, and plus I hadn't played it since the new map came out or anything, and so there was like,
haven't seen the new map.
what is this? Where are we? This is like all new and shiny, and there's hills and different vehicles. There's a VW bus. What is this?
Nice.
And so, and I so wanted to get people in there and do like Magic Bus, which for old Game Fest people, they know. But PUBG was a lot of fun. Also threw some throwback to Black Ops 2, which again, I don't think you guys got to play at all. But that was another like Campo, myself, and La Campette, because his daughter was playing, actually decided one day, told him like, hey dad, we should play like Black Ops. And he was like, what? You don't want to play Terraria again forever? All 1,500 plus hours you have in that game? Yes, let's play some Black Ops. And La Campette has gotten good. Holy cow. About time she learned how to FPS. So happy.
We've got some pretty solid-looking teams to do FPSs.
Yeah, I tried admittedly a few times, and this is horrible. Nobody got it. But I kept trying to tease people into Unreal Tournament. Because, for those who don't know, Epic Mega Games, Epic was the original game engine, but Unreal Engine, the people behind it, have released a couple games basically for free. Fortnite is one of them, to highlight the Unreal 4 engine.
Huh.
Well, one of the other ones they happen to do is Unreal Tournament.
Oh.
And it's essentially the original Unreal Tournament with all the glory and shininess that is the Unreal 4 engine. So it plays just like the original Unreal Tournament, which is what I cut my teeth on outside of like Doom and Duke Nukem and Quake. Unreal Tournament was one I probably spent the most hours in playing online. And it hurts me that people don't want to play it. And so I played it through the whole speaker system downstairs instead of my headphones, hoping, because people are like, Campo was like, wait, is that my game? What am I hearing? all I was trying to do is get some of the actual voices to come through saying like headshot, or God, just all the because it has all the classic voice and stuff where it's just when you're doing really well and it's telling you all this how good you're doing stuff. It's all in that same announcer voice. And I was hoping to come through and people would be like, I know this from somewhere in my past. What is this I'm hearing? And they'd be curious and interested and come check it out. But nobody did. Gah.
Something that strikes me now that I've gone through it, Overwatch doesn't have that, if I'm remembering. Like that really, pat you on the back. The announcer is just kind of like calling you out for being amazing. I don't think I remember hearing that
What was that?
in Overwatch.
Oh, in Overwatch?
So, like, where you
No,
have the
I don't.
announcer with, like,
No.
headshot. You're doing awesome.
They don't. Well, because it's more of a team-based game, and so there's not as many games that have it. Some did throw it in there, like classic old any of the deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture flag type games. So you get it in your Quakes, and you get it in Unreal Tournament, and you get it in some of those very distinct, like this is how this game is played. But you don't get as much of that in like any of these co-op type team games like Overwatch. I don't even think Team Fortress necessarily has it. It maybe
They
has
have
some
the
kill
announcer,
streaker.
the announcer will call you out a little bit.
Okay, because it might have some, but no, Overwatch doesn't take. And it's just
remembering.
the thing that it got me with Unreal Tournament. Why I recommend everyone at least check it out because it's free, by the way. Yes, thank you, Kroto. Monster kill.
Yeah, like that. There's something special when you achieve something crazy. It's like
you get pumped.
I am being a legend.
You get pumped. You really do. You start to feel the adrenaline going. And I remember Unreal Tournament getting the ultra damage, getting quad damage essentially, and having a flat cannon, full armor and health, and just walking through shredding people left and right, and giving it going up with the monster kill, ultra kill. I forget what the top one was, but there were like 3 or 4 stages, and each one got more epic. And you just be like, I am just crushing people.
Pentakill.
Yeah, stuff like
the
that.
equivalent. And it felt so good. And you don't get that as much in, like, again, Overwatch or some of those games. And so I just was sad that none of the group caught on that I was trying to push them into some old nostalgia, but with a new engine. It'd be so good. Sorry, I'm bad like that, guys. All right, other than that, what else did we play? We had some Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is the main, I think, board game that got played. At least 2 rounds of it I saw played. We also played some Joking Hazard with part of the group.
It was good.
We played some Rock Band, which I had a lot of fun with.
A lot of Mario Kart.
Yes, there was a lot of Mario Kart that
The
happened.
camp bet
that
is
was
just
interesting to see.
destroying.
That was interesting to see.
Yeah, no, it was fun because again we had the Switch going on the TV upstairs as well as just everyone gaming downstairs and stuff. So it was a wide variety. It's the kind of normal mix that you get. Shouts out by the way to my buddies Mike and Serpencer because they both traveled from across the country to come to this. That was part of my old school group I was talking about where it was limited, where I had people from out of town flying in to actually be able to hang out because they hadn't been to a Game Fest since they'd moved. So that was really nice. So shout out to both of them for traveling out here. In fact, Mike's still in the basement right now gaming
Oh, good.
because he flies out tomorrow. So,
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. Serpencer had to fly out today. So that was really cool. And then, so that was most of the actual like Game Fest activities. Something that needs to be brought up, and so this is going to be a slight transition, since again we're going to do more second half into some news and discussions. We're getting close to the break. Hopefully, if you're watching the video, I haven't been up enough to see it. You've seen just a tease at the top of my shoulder here, where you see this versus up here. And if I were to stand up a little bit, hopefully you guys can see something that I'm now wearing. That is new to the VTW community. Would you guys like to talk about this?
We made some shirts.
Yeah, so VTW has a new logo. Zenko made the logo. Seems to be pretty popular.
Yeah. Gamer
so
tag on
one of
the
the other
back.
things is we'd recently acquired a direct-to-garment printer. So it's basically a giant inkjet printer that instead of ink uses dye, so we can print stuff on T-shirts. And
And
so
not
we're-
just t-shirts, but that's basically what we've been doing.
On basically
Fabric.
anything fabric.
and it can do full color, so different from like screen printing. And so we have Hyde doing a lot of the spearheading on it. A lot of she's kind of taking over the production process. And so we'd been testing out some shirts for Versus the World Gaming.
Winning
And
some, losing some. It's been a learning process.
It has been.
There goes
So
my phone.
she can explain a little bit more about kind of what all we're doing, since this is her spearhead.
Hey guys, I made some shirts.
So, basically, there's a
Oh,
company available out there called...
It's called Color Me Impressed, CMI Fashion Printing. We have an email, it's cmi.fashion.printing@gmail.com. Basically, if you send us a image, we can put it on a shirt for you, depending on, it has to be a decent resolution image, otherwise you're just going to get the crappiest shirt ever, but yeah, we can basically take any image that you give us, if you have the rights to use it, and put it on a shirt.
Yep. And it's so the cool thing is they can be full color, or they can be single color. And so what's really interesting about them, because it is an inkjet, screen printing, you can only do certain amounts of colors. So if you want a shirt that has 3 colors, you need to create 3 screens to do it. And those screens are not cheap.
Which is why with screen printing you often have minimums. So you can only have you have to order at least 20 shirts to get this order, or you have to, blah, 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 because they have to make up for the time and the cost of making all of these individual screens.
You have to create the screens, you have to do the whole process of layer by layer, putting down color, and...
It's ridiculous. So they make minimums because they don't want to do all of this work for one shirt.
And it makes sense. If you need to
ridiculous.
print 75, 100, 200, if you need to print a lot of shirts, screen printing is by far the way to do it.
But this way we can do one-offs, we can do small orders, we can do whatever the heck your little heart desires. We can print on bags, really cool nerdy stuff all over the place. So those shirts are definitely one of the fun things that we've done so far. I made a couple other shirts this weekend for La Campette and her friend.
They're some of the first custom, pick
Yeah.
an image. I want this.
I want this on a shirt. And I'm like, okay, done. And they're like, I have pictures of it. It's great. We got some very nerdy, lovely things going on.
And it's really spectacular. So one of the things we're doing also is if we see artists we know that kind of want to make that thing happen, put their stuff on shirts to maybe sell them themselves, or just kind of to have, or even maybe artwork that we happen to like, we're starting to contact some of those artists and see if, hey, how much would you like to give us the right to use this however we choose, so that we can just print things for ourselves with the with full rights to do it.
Yeah.
But other things that we can print things, and that's what we've been doing for a bunch of Game Fest, kind of learning.
Yeah, it was a process where they for anyone who got to see it here, basically there is more than half of my dining room table right now is supporting Color Me Impressed, literally, because that is where the printer is. And for people who haven't seen it, think of a regular inkjet printer, but 5 or 6 times bigger or more.
Yeah, it's sticking off of the table on both sides, and it's not a small dining room table.
I mean, for reference, I think the dimensions are 56 inches by 38 by 19, I think.
It's
dimensions.
Big. It's big.
It's big.
Difficult to bring through doorways. Furniture big.
You're not supposed to tilt it more than 10 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. That's what it says in the manual. Otherwise, the ink can spill. But
We're like, how the hecking heck are you supposed to get this through a
Disassemble
door?
entire thing or put it in nothing but garages. Interesting.
So that's kind of one of the recent things that's been going on. It's been occupying a lot of our time. And now Zenko is throwing together a parent brand for all of these related things, and it's in progress, but it's called Foxmyth.
And so you should be seeing it at some point. We'll put it out there, all the information of how to find all the different kind of creator type activities that are going on around the guild hall and things like that.
But main thing is, if you want a VTW shirt, we can now make them.
So those, and if you've been on the Facebook and been able to see it there, VTW, this the shirt I'm wearing today. Putting it out there that you're welcome to contact me directly at the moment. We'll go from there and kind of figure out how best to do it on ordering shirts. And the inclusion on it is to discuss both, do you want the basic cotton like I'm wearing now, or a nicer, softer cotton, or one of these rayon blends
The
that's
super
super
soft, ridiculously nice shirts that I am getting mine on for sure.
which allow you to, basically it's a lot more comfortable and just fun to wear.
The softest
But your
shirt.
size, the kind of shirt, and to some degree the color that you want, and we'll put some options out there so that you can order your own custom, versus the world shirt for versus the world gaming, and shine proud with your VTW love.
So I've created a spreadsheet on that, and we should be able to share that relatively soon. All you got to do is just put a Y in the box, whichever, in the column of whichever shirt you want. Like if you want a gamer tag, and we have how much it would end up being. It would end up costing. Should autofill.
Good.
Good.
Good. That'll make it
price in
easy.
there. Based on what you put. So if you want a gamer tag, that's extra. It takes a lot of ink, more ink than you'd think.
Yeah.
And if you want a better shirt,
Yeah, and there's a lot of options to be done, but that's just what's available right now for the VTW side. Beyond that, we'll look forward for Color Me Impressed to support any of your geek needs. And I put it out there as think of all those kind of fun little meme shirts or other things you see around cons and stuff like that that are just kind of silly. If you've ever had an idea that you thought of your own or something you wanted kind of, that's great that you have those. I've always been looking for a shirt like this.
Yeah.
The nice thing
or if you
is-
just want a phrase on a shirt, hit us up.
yeah.
Because Color Me Impressed can work with that, and along with actually the design aspect of it, where Zenko can actually work to design if you need a logo or the look and feel or something. So you don't have to even provide it all. It'll cost a little more if you have to have it designed for you, but you could have something completely custom built for you.
And that's kind of one of the cool things, and something we want to really focus on as part of what we're doing with the Guildhall Galatea, is to be able to make these things available to people. So one of the big things is if artists, and especially because we're involved in the convention scene, that's part of our focus, but artists who want their work on stuff like t-shirts. So it's not just what is an 8x10 prints, or sometimes it just adds a little bit of extra just to have it on a t-shirt because it's really, really cool. And that's another of the shirts we did for Doc Dad, with a really cool custom dragon he had purchased a while back, and then some kanji on it. It ended up really cool.
It did.
It was
really
also
did.
the super soft shirts.
Yeah, it's really comfortable.
But so in addition to shirts, so Zenko has that really cool, it's a purse bag, messenger bag that she has. It has this really cool Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service on it. And it's beautiful. We can print on bags, and you can have really sick messenger bags. Do the thing.
Yeah, so we're looking
There's my pitch. That's it.
We're looking
that's
at
all I
all
got.
kinds of different options for things that can be done. And so, yes, all of the things.
It's pretty cool to see the machine in operation, actually. And I think we've got a couple videos somewhere that we could probably post.
Yeah, we'll get some stuff out there for it. Other things with that, though. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. One, so I can refresh a drink, because now I'm dry and I've been drinking all weekend and I need more liquid, so more of that. And then we will come back and we'll talk a little bit more about what the Guild's been doing, kind of just project stuff like that, things I've fixing and maintaining and all that kind of stuff that happens with all this. Why not everybody does these things, because it's not always easy for everyone. But we'll take a break. We'll play a song here. I'm doing one that's going to be in honor of the cosplay that Hyde and I had done at Katsu, and so we will come from that and be back.
Wait, I'm gonna
after
listen.
This, I think.
Figure out which one it is.
This one, it should be back in about 3.5 minutes. So with that, you're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com, and we will be back just after this break. As I make sure to hit the right buttons first.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
My name is Pinkie Pie. Hello, and I am here to say, how you doing? I'm gonna make you smile, and I will brighten up your day. It doesn't matter now what's up, if you are sad or blue. Happy, 'cause cheering up my friends is just what Pinkie's here to do. 'Cause I love to make you smile.
listening to Show X on btwproductions.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. So the others are out getting refreshments and such as I just kind of freshened my drink and came right back. But yes, we were talking a little bit about the DTG printing and kind of what's going on with that. It's a nice new fun activity going on with the Guildhall and everything around it. Also, great shout out, Tom, for your Warframe design for the shirt that you put forward. That's available now for people in the Valve store. That's really, really freaking cool. I'm glad that you reminded that I can do a shout out for you on that. So in the link there, and I'm going to grab that and put it in the show notes that I never publish, but at least I'll have it there. Oh, I'm so bad. So yes, that is awesome. Put it right there. That will be Tom's Warframe shirt. For everybody and anyone that needs to do it. And Greyfield, stop it. Everyone should listen to Smiles by Pinkie Pie. Why wouldn't everybody want to be happy? Such hate. Anyhow, let's see. As we continue on, so one of the things I want to talk about, as we're talking about the printer stuff, one of the things, much like 3D printing, this has been a exploration in what it takes to be a commercial asset or try to do things that are not for the everyman. It's kind of like in 3D printing how I say it's not the same as an inkjet printer where you just pick something, print it, and you're done. There's a lot you may have to do to maintain and kind of keep things going for any of these activities. And so it's one that we, with the DTG, they've been doing a lot of learning and how to best perform, what steps it takes to get good results. And so there are some examples in there of some shirts that have struggled in the learning process, and so don't necessarily look as nice as they could, but are good. I mean, it's again, it's a learning process, but it's one of the challenges is there's cost in there.
What's been nice with that, though, is with every single failure that we've had, we've learned a better way to do it. So there's only been one situation where we're like, I don't really know what happened this time, but then after further discussing it, we figured out what not to do next time. So one time, images turned out too faded, so we figured out why they were turning out faded. Now we've corrected the problem. Now they don't look faded anymore when we finish them. So it's been really nice just because every single time we have a shirt not turn out, we're able to make sure that never happens again really easily.
Yep, and it's great because between Akko and Highmire, they're doing a good job of logging everything and really making this a business. It's just really cool. So I'm looking forward to see the results of everything going out and kind of try to feed them what ideas I can for what could be done. There had been a hiccup that happened before where one of the tools that's kind of integral or helpful to the process failed. And again, this goes into, as you're doing these things, not everything works, and there's costs involved with getting into any kind of business. But in this case, it was a heat press. Essentially, it's a large, flat iron type press that you heat up to specific temperatures to help the process of creating these shirts to treat the initial first surface that you print on and to cure the ink once you're done so that it all stays, it's fast and ready for washing and things like that.
So as I was making a shirt a couple days ago, I'm just, sitting there pressing down on this heat press, and suddenly there is sparks flying everywhere. I'm like, haha, what? Turns out one of the relays decided to melt a lot and shorted itself. Luckily, Wayne was able to open it up and figure out what exactly went bad, find the part and order it before we'd even realized it. So the part came in either yesterday or this morning.
I think I might have been this morning. I just know that I looked on the table. If it was last night, I missed it whenever it came. But it was on the table this morning when I got up in a bag. I was like, oh. And so first thing this morning, I decided to tear apart the heat press and replace the said part that I had found. Which
was awesome because we've already used it. The heat press is working fantastically. So what I've been doing this weekend to try to make sure I've substituted the heating press with an iron and an ironing board. And let me tell you, I've been sitting there ironing for the majority of Game Fest. I was ironing, which I was very happy to do and I was enjoying it, but there was I can't be looking at my phone and ironing just in case, something needs to happen. So I'm sitting there kind of dazing off, staring at the wall, ironing for 15 minutes. Really feeling it. Yeah, so now that you have the heat press back, it's moving a lot faster and it's definitely a lot better.
Yeah, so I've been happy that I've been able to at least support that and keep things running. Because I know right away Akko had already been out looking for replacement heat presses and not wanting to have to spend another $200 or $300 to get a piece of equipment after originally acquiring this one. And so I felt good that I was able to at least, through my limited engineering experience, get that running for them again.
It's working absolutely wonderfully. Thank you very much for that. I wouldn't have known how to find the replacement part, much less how to remove it and reinstall it. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So again, I've been able to help a little bit. But it's like all these activities. There's a lot of learning that goes along with, and thus why not for the faint of heart. I've told many people to be careful getting into 3D printing because you're gonna have to fix something. At some point, it's gonna get clogged. It's gonna melt. And something's gonna go bad, and you better be ready to disassemble half of what you have, or else you're just gonna be done. And so I've warned some
And then
friends.
you end up selling your printer on like Facebook Marketplace, and then we pick it up for super cheap, and then we have another one in our collection. So I mean, if you want to, we'll take that route. Yeah, I'm sitting in your spot.
Heck, you didn't see it in this spot.
I was
I'll
going to say, taking the settings that are specifically cued to your voice and now using them for her. And
I expected immediate demon voice, but I didn't get it. I was very disappointed.
See what this does in my voice now.
well, and I had to adjust, a little bit volume because one tends to lean away from mic and talk, and other tends to speak into mic.
Yes.
Get really close to my mic.
It's not about close; it's just your general state. And so when you went over there, all of a sudden you were like, "I'm just really quiet on the voice." So no, I got you. That's why I got a mixer board here,
I'm messing everything up,
Yep.
just like in League.
just in real time, making my podcasting harder than it has to be. But that's okay.
I do what I can.
That's why I dive in and bail everyone out. Leona, Sono.
Thanks.
Well, and so it's funny because
Believe in you.
as I mentioned this, Kuro says, I'm going to throw my printer out the window for his 3D printer. Because Kuro and I have talked about 3D printing for a while now. Because how long have you had your kit, Kuro? You
Saying
had
it's
picked
still
up a
skipping the
cheap.
Y-axis.
Oh god, that sucks. You had bought your cheap Chinese, basically part one, years ago, if I'm not incorrect. Where you had.
What's his?
Yeah, what brand is yours, Kuro? Or is it a brand? I know it's one you got for a decent price, and that you not just some, all assembly required.
Oh,
And eventually posted some shots to me, letting me know that he got it running and it's working.
that's
It's
good.
there.
That's awesome.
And have you had a successful print? Because he's talking about the y-axis skipping.
Oh,
Yikes.
is
And
the tension too high on the?
we don't know. He's troubleshooting, right? And so hopefully, Kuro, you'll figure that out. But again, this is why I actually like having stories like that come forward, because I want to warn or caution people who are getting into the market to be aware that these are not, even the nice commercial ones, in many cases are not just, 6 years, point and click type of applications. They're things that you got to be ready to put some blood, sweat, tears, and learning into.
There's
'Cause-
blood, sweat, tears, and burns.
Oh gosh,
And burns.
in the 3D printing, yes. And I was saying basically the same thing about the DTG printing. That it's not just you put a shirt in, you print it, and you're done.
Right.
There's a lot you have to maintain and be aware of, or else you're gonna suffer later.
It's close. It's as close as you can get to a set it
Oh.
and forget it. But
I didn't realize yours was a Prusa too. That's actually a really nice one, Kuro. Sorry.
I'm
sorry
Prusa.
about
That's
that.
nice. How's it go, Mom?
So why the heck is it being so terrible to you?
Because they're all temperamental in
Failed at
different ways.
95%. That is the worst. Oh gosh, that's so bad. So even though like my R2 has issues in that the y-axis build of it causes a little waveform in most of the bigger prints, unless I do a super high res, which doesn't look great but is serviceable.
Could be too high motor.
I think the actual screw is bent, and I have a replacement one, and I tried to disassemble it once, and it was enough that I stopped.
Yikes.
And I'm waiting for Robo to release a video to show me specifically how to do that, because I was done. I was like, I don't know how to disassemble this entire effing
Say,
thing.
if you ever decide that you're
The R1, no problem. I can disassemble that down to nuts and bolts. The
Oh, we
R2's
have.
pretty though.
well, that was what we had done with the new R1 that I had bought, and the seller said that it's a hot end issue. There were half a dozen more issues that were wrong with it, not necessarily the hot end.
No, that was the seller's fault, because there were so many things they did wrong.
We basically had to take the whole thing apart, and thank goodness you knew what you were doing, because that would have been very, very, very long troubleshooting.
Oh gosh, the 2 years of my prior experience with that exact model, although the Kickstarter one, which is even more temperamental. And yes, I looked and was like, well, that's wrong.
Well,
and that's wrong. What did this person do?
Well, I noticed he had rewired the end stop and thought it would be great. He turned
He
it
had
from an
broken
open.
it and then tried to fix it just by plugging the other piece in, which made it stop working.
It turned it from, what is it, a closed to an open circuit?
Essentially, so it's basically it's closed and waiting for the click to say open to thus say I need to stop. It switched the switch, and so then it was confused as hell when it tried to do it. It's just like wrong.
And then he was using a nozzle that was too small, and then he was.
So yeah, because even that I tried to clean nozzles, like, well, that's not the right
I
size.
was going to say, so if you ever decide that, you're done with this particularly frustrating hobby, the Guildhall is always interested
just
in
let us
receiving
know.
machinery to take apart, learn how it works, and be able to then share that knowledge.
We're here for you.
Or if you just want things printed, hit us up. We'll print it for you.
We have 6.
3D printers, DTG printers, laser cutters when we get it working, resin printers when we get it working.
So yeah, no, it's so good. But yeah, so it's just with any of these hobbies that are about as geeky as you can get and really lean on the edge of like engineering and stuff like that, you just got to be ready to be hands-on. It's good for a lot of the cosplay community, and a lot of people I know. In fact, several of the game festers here have 3D printers now, and they're doing them for their own specific purposes, which is really fun to see. It's just it's interesting, but you have to be ready to get in there and get dirty, or don't do this.
Because they'll
Just
break.
don't.
Each one is so temperamental in a very different way.
Well, in Greyfield, actually, the challenge is 3D printing's gotten cheap. You can get a basic FTM printer, plastic printer, for $150.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively cheap, but cheap. And like mine, I'll admit, there are some benefits to me having a $1,400 printer for the R2. Unlike the R1, when I hit print, I walk away. I don't even watch the first layer anymore. I'm just like, sweet, and it works every time.
Because it's
The
dialed in.
R1, don't.
No.
The R1, if you're not hand manipulating every first layer print you do, you're going to be wasting a lot of material. Once it starts adhering, golden, gorgeous prints.
Because the auto leveling, there's just something weird about it.
Lasers are better than screws and switches.
Yes.
Just saying. The
So
R2
the auto
has
leveling's
lasers.
always off, so you need to manually dial in that first layer. So you actually had better be printing a brim on
Yeah.
your prints,
you
because
can
you'll
tell.
have about 3 or 4 passes to fully dial it in.
As you're constantly on ours with the 2 screws having to like, nope, nope, wait.
Oh wait, it's scooting. It's scooting. No,
Oh,
too
gosh.
low.
Yep,
okay. Wait,
so
no.
bad.
Now it's too high. Oh wait, no. We gotta twist the screws in opposite direction. Okay, there
while,
we go.
while trying to look under this tiny point, what even the 1/10 of a millimeter separation gap between the print bed and the print head, you're just, is it pretty? That's going the wrong way. I can't see it. It's fun. Anyhow, as
one
we
way to
rant
describe
about
it.
just the challenges of what we do day to day, it's great. No, it is a good time, and so. That's my word of warning to people who are getting into like wanting to do these hobby type things and translate them to more. Again, the more expensive you get, the less you might have to maintain, or it's different how you do. But boom, because even like with the DTG, one of the unknown costs you run into is like the ink, right? And there's certain things you have to do where it uses ink just to keep it running. And people bitch about ink cartridges for an inkjet printer, where they're like $40 or $50 a piece.
Shut up,
When you're trying to buy it for a garment printer, you need to multiply that
boy.
per color of ink when you have 6 cartridges in there, and each one's costing you over $200 a
piece.
cartridge.
For not so giant ones, that is true. And one of the interesting things, so the printer that we got, Epson F2000, is pretty much the best name in this particular line of direct to garment. Well, the reason it's that way is because Epson is very, very particular about what you're supposed to do with the machine. Its maintenance schedules, how it operates. It's a very smart machine, much smarter than we are. So if we do something really dumb, it will stop the print and tell you you're being dumb. In nice ways, of course.
We
And
should change that.
Yes,
Stop it.
Flash the firmware and just be like, really? Again?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, perfect.
so it is very
You've
smart.
done this 5 times today. Can you knock it off, please?
One of the biggest challenges is white ink. So what's very interesting is, and we had talked to the screen printers, dark colored shirts are actually not terribly profitable. I mean, compared to other kinds of shirts, mainly because it requires 2 to 3 times the amount of ink. You just have to be doing tons of ink, and you always require white ink, which is the most expensive of the inks. Why?
Basically, to print on a black shirt, to print on a black shirt that has something with bright colors on it, you need a layer of white underneath. So basically, you put the white ink on, and then you print the color on over it, so it actually shows up bright. We have a good example of what happens if you just print as like with no white ink underneath of it, just the color on the black shirt, as opposed to having white under, and you can hardly see it just in the black shirt because there's nothing to make the color vibrancy stand out. And so with the really high quality ones, we have to do about 2 passes of white and then go into color. And so then we've gone 3 times the normal amount of ink than normal. Oh, hey, I like that.
That's cool.
I think that's the image Greyfield sent.
Hey,
Oh, that's
Greyfield.
cool.
That's a good image.
Is that something you might want on a shirt?
Do you want that on a shirt?
To Anime North?
That's cool.
Is that what you were saying with that print that you did? Just like you might want that at Anime North? Is that a PSO image? Just
White
curious.
ink nightmares, yes.
I can see that. If it were black, it could be done on any shirt very easily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if this is done on a white shirt,
Oh, it'd just be print the blue
easy.
ink. Yeah. A black shirt would
So
just be
the
the
other
white
thing,
and then
the
the
other
blue.
thing about the shirts is that they require treatment. So the treatment is a kind of glue that basically flattens and kind of makes everything adhere better.
yeah, it goes to like the actual fabric layer and kind of gives it a good print surface. Because otherwise, you have little light bits of not lint, but kind of the looseness of fabric that's very hard to see human eye. And when you got an inkjet jet printing on that surface, you don't want little bits of fuzzies and stuff like that getting clogging up. It'd just be a mess.
Also, then the ink just wants to soak right through.
Right,
and go
it's
everywhere.
too absorbent, which is funny. So we have several failure examples of where the treatment wasn't done right and other things, and so it's a really interesting learning process. But that's kind of what all goes into a dark colored shirt. You have to do the treatment, you have to do the ink. It just takes almost
Time.
double the time probably,
Yeah, with all the treatment.
and like triple the ink.
Yeah.
So all that's just to say.
print.
So one of the things that Epson does is it does maintenance schedules where because the white ink will dry out. It's an extremely temperamental ink. So if you're not constantly printing, it will dry out. And if it dries out, which is very, very bad, you have to do what's called an ink flush, which is as bad as it sounds. You basically have to hemorrhage a bunch of ink to get the tubes clean and to get the print heads clean and everything. And so we had to do that when we first got the machine and had to buy new ink cartridges because it won't perform an ink flush unless the cartridge is above a certain level of ink. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Cost. So yeah, it's but again, these are things that go with it. It's just what I say. It's
I like that one in the
why people don't.
Zenko could
necessarily
probably
all
turn
do
that into a
themselves.
black and white or just do it as a blue.
Well, this is a question I'm asking. Do you want this as a shirt?
We're already planning it.
Well, and actually, Kuro, what you're saying, it does
Thinking
do
Fullmetal
that. The white
Alchemist.
has a bit of flexibility in it, so it does allow it to stretch without being too bad, and that's just good ink. So they already do that kind of as a base.
Put it this way, if you've seen full color t-shirts, chances are it's a direct-to-garment.
Yeah.
So if they have gradients, if they have
Like the really good color transitions. If it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 solid colors, then
That's
not
probably
so
screen
much.
printing.
Yeah, screen printing and large runs. That's usually how that's done. So slight differences
it's
between.
the same kind of ink though, generally. So they're gonna handle about the same, and as long as it's sealed properly, the first wash is only gonna lose about 1% of the ink, and then it's just gonna last as long as a normal, printed tea would. They always get cracks and faded, and
Yep.
it's just how they go.
Yeah, this shirt is really old and it's just straight up missing parts of it. Still looks pretty cool though.
Hey, that was good. It's good. All right, so we've been talking about this. I did want to bring up some news.
Okay.
And we have, we're not quite halfway through the second half, so I figure we have time to do this. So with that, I'm going to do the official switch over here where I'll bring this up and say, if this works with
High five.
if my thing's set up right.
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
So DTG printers.
Right? Okay. So I had some articles that I'd found this week and such that I kind of wanted to bring up and get everyone's discussion on.
Alright.
A few little ones back and forth. We talked about gaming, so I can start. This would be a quick-ish one, I think. See how this article goes for people here. And actually, it's funny, Kuro, because I did do 3D printer. I've done some flexible a little bit,
Yeah, I saw that.
where I printed some of the scales to kind of see how well they flex on fabric. It's interesting, and I want to play with it more. Oh no! Did that go away? Let's see.
They must have retracted it.
Yeah, right. Oh, maybe that wasn't a story. Never mind. We'll just,
So with the 3D printing on fabric, we did, or Wayne did a few tests on, it was just like some organza fabric, so it wasn't stretchy or anything. So I went back to my place and got some really stretchy, porous material that we were going to play around with next after we actually get reset up. So hopefully that'll actually give us some even better results, just because, trial and error on things. But I'm excited to see where that goes, because I would love to have like claws and spikes and things everywhere.
well,
Yes.
put something that's flexible on fabric and then being able to sew it onto your actual fabric. and
Yeah.
do it.
I'm
It's so
here
good.
for that.
So we need to run a few tests depending on some of the artificial fibers. So which will stick better if it's organics or artificials? Because the artificials should melt.
Well, it's about printing through the fabric.
Right.
But
well, the
yes.
question is whether it melts it so it's like a perfect bond, or whether it melts through the fabric. It's just kind of one of those little.
Interesting. We should play around with that. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, we'll be checking out some new things and trying to up the skills of what we're doing. So, gosh, where do I want to go with this? Let's start not as, I don't know which is worse. We'll go with this one. They all have their issues with the stories I have today. But this coming from CNBC. For you, Akko. Senator calls for further protections from, quote, predatory monetization practices in video games.
What?
And so it comes in and says, would you go away?
Ad blocker.
Yeah, I know. It says, a member of Congress is asking for more consumer protections from the gaming industry's aggressive monetization practices. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire sent a letter on February 14th to the Entertainment Software Ratings Board asking the body to review its rating policies on in-game microtransactions or, quote, loot boxes. And now she is considering taking further action if the ESRB doesn't do enough. Quote, I urge the ESRB to examine whether the design and marketing approach to loot boxes in games, especially those geared towards children, are being conducted in an ethical and transparent manner that adequately protects consumers from predatory practices. I am cautiously encouraged by the ESRB's initial statement. However, if they fail to take meaningful action, I will work with colleagues and consumers to consider additional steps to improve transparency in how loot boxes are advertised and used in games. And so, basically saying that, if you don't do something, we're going to make a law. But
Will they in this current administration? Oh, heck no. But it's interesting that they're going along with the ESRB, because that's the ratings board. So the reason you have the E for everyone, T for teen, M mature.
Which admittedly in video games is 100%, it's not a mandatory thing, it's a voluntary thing completely.
Right.
It's something they chose to do voluntarily to get ahead of any issues.
So what's interesting about it is, and the microtransactions have a very heavy rooting in very basic kinds of psychology, but it goes back to actually World of Warcraft, which was one of the first and best to do it, to get the really addictive qualities of randomized rewards. And so from there, then we see the loot boxes, which are, yes, basically a digital slot machine, where you put in real money and you get something, some form of digital item. And
Fantasy Gashapon.
right,
Yeah.
basically. And they borrowed a lot from the Japanese Gashapon system, which is obnoxious and frustrating. But what makes it predatory is when you have the ones that are important to playing the game. You can't play them without the boxes.
Anything that actually is a gameplay mechanic or piece. It's one thing when all of them are anything that's cosmetic, a different voice track, a different costume, a different look,
like-
texture, something like that.
Like
do not
skins?
care. Yeah, skins
Solid.
are great.
Whoa.
But beyond that, when it's actually things like characters in game or types of items that have bonuses on them and things like that you can't get without having gone into the system, that's when it becomes questionable.
So I've talked to you guys about my Final Fantasy game that I play on my phone before.
Oh, yes.
So they're not technically loot boxes as one would think of them, but like to unlock literally the entire rest of the game, each building to unlock is $100. It's $99.99 to unlock an individual building. You get like a crap ton of resources with you, get a couple other items, but it's like 100 literal real US dollars per building, and there's like 10 buildings and like 5 other characters, and it's like it is impacting my ability to play the game to the fullest because I'm not willing to spend that money on this dumb game.
And so it's great. I mean, that's fine because it's a free-to-play game, wink, wink.
It's
But
heavily impaired by the fact that people who are willing to play that now are just paid to win.
well, and that gets dangerous when you start, some of the big companies start putting that towards actual AAA titles that you're already shelling out a ton of money for to get effectively an incomplete game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this goes into all of my rants and raves about just release the damn game and let us play it. Or, and I've always argued that the best for me model for monetization when you want to kind of do one of the different ones is what Riot Games has done. I still contend that Riot has done some of the best for monetization, where they took a free-to-play model, which is totally free. Everything in-game that you actually need to do in-game is free or can be earned through free credits in-game. You don't have to pay for anything. You can choose to accelerate and take away time constraints of how much you have to play. Who cares? That's fine, because at the same time, you don't need to own every champ. There's no benefit to that. But if you focus on 3 or 4 or 5 champs that get really good at, you don't need to ever spend a penny on the game. But because they offer so many things that are incentivized in just that I want it versus I need it, people spend far more money on the game than they ever need to, and they still are making money hand over fist. And it's a reason for them to keep the game fresh, and so they continue to go in there and push it with new content, new skins, new things like that people want to keep buying. That's how they're making their money, as well as extending their market into real world with things like plushies and hats and shirts and artwork and things like that. And so they've realized that their entire monetization is essentially the merchandise. It's not the game itself. And so it's brilliant. It's really a neat model, and it's one that people can get behind because you're not fleecing me. It's my choice to give you money.
And for anyone that's followed any of the actual goings on, so like some of the stockholder meetings, at least the highlights, you don't want to sit in for the full stockholder meetings for like EA and things. Those are a pain. And you kind of have to own stock.
Let the experts give you some of the highlights.
But basically, their strategy is on the loot box, microtransaction, heavy monetization. They are moving actively away from the AAA titles. Why? Because they're higher dev costs, lower return compared to an ongoing microtransaction model. I forget how many billions of dollars they made last year in their microtransactions. It's too profitable for them to ignore. And you hear talk about, oh, Disney's gonna pull the Star Wars Battlefront. No, they're not. There's a variety of reasons why they can't. One would be a breach of contract and they'd have to pay tons of damages, but also because one of the heads of Disney was the COO, Chief Operations Officer, of guess who? So they gave so my understanding is they basically gave those properties to EA for a song, and because Disney wasn't planning on doing anything with it, and they don't really care. So if it really affects their brand, maybe, but at the very least they could still throw EA on the pike if they want, because EA, that's their job. EA is supposed to take all the flack. That's the point.
Yes. EA! It's not in the game.
Yes.
Until you pay more. So it's one of those things that, and it's interesting to hear legislation. What it means is that the idea of loot boxes and the noise that's made about it has made it to a congressional level of understanding. Not that they know what's going on, but at least it's hit their awareness.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's something that's like, oh, what? That sounds shitty. And it is.
Yeah. I appreciate that they're
So in a way I bring that up
looking at
because
it.
it's weird because I don't know what can actually be done. It's whether it's...
Nothing.
Because I have a challenge, and we'll get into this
Yeah.
next. I have a challenge whenever politicians get into discussions about gaming. Because I argue about how many of them have ever seen, touched, or played a game. At all. Let alone just even solitaire or something. And so it pains me when I hear any discussions about gaming from those who really should have no hand in it.
Right.
Let us take care of ourselves. We always say pay with your pocket. Don't buy the crap that's if you don't want it. Don't support companies that are doing bad things, and it'll self-correct. Minus the whole whales issue and stuff like that. But so I'm worried because as I get into my next article, yay. Let's see. So the center one I was worried about. One that also hit news that I knew I was going to rant about this.
You
I
guys
just knew.
thrashed in the chat.
Hmm?
No.
You got dealt the killing blow.
No, there is no killing blow. Just because I own an Xbox One, but it's only with the Xbox version of Monster Hunter is crap compared to the PlayStation 4.
I need to pick up
That's
Monster Hunter.
crap compared to what's going to be on the PC because the PC Master Race wins in all things. My 1080 is far superior than any of that BS hardware. That's
Blizzard
in the little
disagrees.
Lunchbox that's on my console, and so
Listen, I'm just saying, like, you
better
should play
textures,
it sometime. You
8K, just
should-
anything.
The story is good, the play is good, you should play it sometime.
Hey, it's consistent, and hey, guess
Shall
what?
I show you my Steam list on the 400 games I own and that I've never installed more than half?
How much is a good graphics card right now?
$1,000.
Don't ask right now.
How much?
Cryptocurrency.
How much? No. That's
So here's
precisely
the
the point.
thing.
How
I
much is a
already own
console?
mine. What?
That's true. That's true.
$200 to like hate yourself? I don't know.
Yeah, but
Oh wait,
okay, at
just for a graphics card, we're looking at maybe
$1,000?
$1,000 now.
Only
a
because,
decent one.
Only because the market has been ripped apart by cryptocurrency.
However, how long will it take to recover in the time when, oh no, I now can't build my new computer, but you know what I can get? A console.
Hey, you know what I already have that I could play it on the hardware that it was programmed on in the first place and it would look better on and
Not
run better
Monster
on?
Hunter.
Yes, I could. if they wouldn't, hold back artificially for why they release it, as we've
Yeah.
discussed in the before.
That's true. That is.
It's bullshit. There is no reason that they should hold it back other than they're trying to support this thing that should end, which is consoles. They should end. Stop. Just release PCs. That's all they are. But call them what they are. Anyhow,
When you have a unified development,
let's talk about others that are talking about video games that shouldn't. Oh, I don't know. We have a combination of articles here, and I think I should start on the big one. Yeah, this is the article I liked, which is after the unfortunate and terrible recent violence that has happened in the U.S. again, another school
Surprise.
shooting. We go back to a really again.
oh,
So, this coming to us from the Next Web, we're blaming video games for real-world violence again.
of course.
Guess how many schools I've shot up.
So, the video game world loves a bit of nostalgia. Gamers instinctively look to the past, whether that's to long-beloved franchises like Burnout or retro consoles like the NES. But not all throwbacks are good. One thing that's recently made a comeback, especially in the wake of the tragic massacre at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, is the purported link between video game violence and real-life acts of violence. In the wake of the real-world tragedy, politicians are looking for the culprit in the virtual world. Just 2 days after Nicholas Cruz's rampage, which left 17 dead, Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin declared America's culture problem, saying, quote, "You look at the culture of death that is being celebrated. There are video games that, yes, are listed for mature audience, but kids play them and everybody knows it. And there's nothing to prevent the child from playing them that celebrate the slaughtering of people." Just a second. A few days later, Donald Trump fired off his own volley of nonsensical, from the article, bullshit. If you need to take an ibuprofen after reading this, I completely understand.
I'll go get it now.
The quote
Yeah.
from the President of the United States:
Oh no, please. No.
"I'm hearing more and more people seeing the level of violence in video games is really shaping young people's thoughts. And then you go the further step, and that's the movies. You see these movies, and they're so violent, a kid is able to see the movie if sex isn't involved, but killing is involved. And maybe we need to put a rating system for that. The fact is that you are having movies come out that are so violent, the killing and everything else, and we may have to think about that." Sorry, just reading anything
So-
in Trump speak is difficult.
Here's the funny thing. The funny thing is, of the two, his is most accurate. And it does burn me to say that. And I say that, so back in college, one of my majors was psychology. And so this always came up in some of the more advanced psychology courses, which was, video game violence. Is it really a thing? And the research is pretty uniformly no. While video games may increase violence just a little bit, it's not very long lasting. But when you compare it to violent sports, violent movies, they actually increase the level of violence, not just immediately, but over time, especially when long exposure. And there's a variety of theories as to why they do that. And one of the ones that I happened to appreciate because of the particular school of psychology that I followed, cognitive behavior, which is basically people see these things, these actions, and our brains aren't really good at distinguishing that these are fake. So when you see people on a screen that are imitating acts of violence, your brain unconsciously recognizes that as a pattern of acceptable behavior in some way, shape, or form. So no, it doesn't mean that you're immediately going to go out and start shooting someone, but it does mean that being slightly more aggressive in another situation is acceptable. Why? Your brain thinks you see that hero in that movie he acted violently in that situation. That turned out all right. So your brain sees that as a possible. They're called schemas, which are patterns or ways of interacting with the world, and sees it as acceptable. So it sort of changes that and it makes it long term. Sporting events as well, especially boxing, wrestling, MMA, do increase levels of violence over time and over extended exposure because, again, you're watching people hit each other.
It's actual violent acts. But the thing that, like you said at the beginning, is that video games have not been the cause. And we all talk about this because, gosh, everyone that's a fan of this show, how many people have killed people here? Oh, well, please don't answer that. But the idea that
We're
actually...
about to receive some very surprising answers.
Yeah. Hey, look, we just got a new email. Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, showx at vtwproductions.com. Please do not tell us who you've killed. But that it's kind of a... It sucks because I've seen all the psychological reports and studies and things I've gone over decades now that gaming has been so prevalent. What burns me, and this goes based off that previous discussion, is having people of note, especially politicians who have the ability to change legislation and thus how we have to interact with the world here in our country, in the U.S., speak about these things that they have no knowledge of. And this is I'm more sensitive to it, and I think it's even worse of the case when it reaches all the way to the top office, to the presidency. We already know that the current president is different than many, and has a willingness to speak about subjects that he knows almost nothing about.
Which is interesting.
Trying not to get into the whole thread of the challenges and dangers and things of that, of having someone with that kind of position.
An ignorant person speaking as an expert on manners that he should not be allowed to do so because of all of the
Having such an audience.
possible repercussions.
Well, it's almost to this... God, okay, here's my political rant for the half second. Everyone who's ever bitched about a actor having a political view because they don't know what the hell they're talking about...
Ronald Reagan. What?
No, at least someone who went into politics and took it serious.
Oh yeah, he did.
Having a
That's
president that's just as freaking ignorant, talk about everything because that's his job and is still as ignorant, what's more dangerous? Because it's the damn same. I'll leave it at that. Every time you rant about anyone who's not a politician, anyone who's an actor saying something, that's your president that you voted in. Just as ignorant.
true. Thanks.
And you're not saying
guys.
anything negative about that, so deal with it. Anyhow, so when you have a politician, any politician, come up and try to bring up the same BS that has been proven to be false, that video games somehow cause violence, what you're getting is things like my next article,
Oh boy.
which is that Rhode Island might start taxing violent video games.
Great.
Rhode Island Representative, was it Robert Nardo Illois? Fire him already. Planning on introducing a new legislation that will tax, quote, violent video games in the state. Violence and other mature themes such as sex and drugs in video games has always been a hot topic, especially with regard to possible connections between the M-rated games and, quote, growing rates of school shootings in the United States. Not related in any way. Yes, shits. Mature video games like Battlefield, this one's coming from, the ScreenRant.com. Mature video games like Battlefield and Call of Duty series are known for portraying somewhat realistic violence, and they don't shy away from showing bloody shootings, deaths, stabbings, and other acts of violence not meant for those under the age of 17. Yet, plenty of minors, parents, play these games without issue when their parents purchase the games on their behalf. The problem with the video game industry is facing today is the assumption that violent video games are one of the key reasons, not true, troubled teens partake in gun violence due to the realistic nature of the games and the idea that death is not permanent. And now legislators are looking to combat video game violence by imposing a tax, meaning making more money off of people by having a guilt tax on things. Do we need more sin taxes, people? Do we really? You know, already you guys bitch about it with alcohol and drugs and, you know, cigarettes and anything else that gets taxed. Do we need one now on my freaking entertainment? And where's the line on that? What gets taxed? What doesn't? This is some freaking BS. Yes, I am outraged at this. I'm getting really angry at it. People that don't know a damn thing about our industry need to stay the frick out of it. We've done a darn good job self-regulating. Why? Why are... And it goes back to this nonsense of people getting emotionally charged about subjects versus thinking about the logic and how things really apply. Okay, I'm going to let you guys interject because I'm just going to rant.
Tax is my particular area. So what's interesting, the way they do it, and they do it a lot. You've seen it in California with their sugar taxes. They've seen it in places.
You've seen it in Boston Harbor with the tea taxes.
It's not. It's not really about the revenue. It's more about punishing certain kinds of behaviors, and that's one of the kind of on the Eagles, you know, bird's eye view level of one of the tax power of different, you know, places. That by putting a tax on it, you can discourage it. And so if your game is suddenly 25% more, well, maybe you'd get a less violent game, right? or maybe you just go not to Rhode Island and buy it somewhere else.
How does that work when you're online?
You just don't get it shipped into Rhode Island.
Well, I mean, most things are digital anyways.
So here's the interesting thing, and if there's a chance they can get around it potentially because their licenses, you're not actually purchasing anything.
Yeah, you're buying a key.
Right, so actually all you're doing is getting an ability to use it rather than purchasing a game. So, I mean, that'll be something that's fought over, whether it's physical copies
that'd be
or whether
weird.
it's physical, digital copies, so on and so forth. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, I mean, if it's going to be within Rhode Island and they pass it, it just means you're going to pay a tax if you buy those particular games in Rhode Island.
So just don't. I mean, Rhode Island's small. It's all
Yeah.
heck. Just leave the state.
Rhode Island's so small. It's like,
Luckily,
take,
it's tiny.
It takes like an hour to get out of there.
Say,
if
take
that.
a bus ride, right?
Yeah.
Just have a weekly, like, set up a bus route that goes to the first, like, GameStop across
Yeah,
the border.
and
Right.
just like do a group order. Just run like
So-
I'd like 5 copies of this game, 3 copies of this game. Yep.
So
all
the funny
violent
thing
ones.
is-
Let's go.
So in California, for the sugar
God.
tax, some of the Costco's did something very interesting. They put up a sign that said, "Our price, your price, plus the Seattle, Washington
Tax or whatever.
sales, sugar drink tax,
Oh.
total price. Oh, by the way, here are some locations not in this territory that are
Oh,
not subject to
wow.
the tax."
Wow.
So those are the kinds of things that people do to get around it because, frankly, is it really going to stop it? Not
No.
necessarily.
No, and that's the thing, because guess what? I would love to see the single study that showed how cigarettes, somebody who's addicted to cigarettes and smokes, stopped and quit smoking because of how much they cost. No, they just get rid of other things in their lives for that as a preference. There's people where that's been an additional piece, like, well, I wanted to get healthy anyways, and damn, it does cost me this much per year. But that's not the primary reason they stop. Taxation is the wrong reason. Some taxes are dumb.
Yeah.
So,
If you're there, just a matter of how they're going to collect it. I mean, there's already problems with sales tax and online retailers. There's problems with, Colorado's pretty nasty. They've got a use tax. So technically, if you go out of state and buy something not subject to Colorado tax, you got to come back and pay the difference to Colorado if they know. Haha. Which is, funny. But other states do something similar because, they kind of want the cash. They
Oh
want
yeah,
they want
everybody
their
every
cut.
politician, every government wants more cash to do more things, and they'll find every means they have to do so. So it really hurts me how Grayfield puts out friends. I'm a Canadian ally who can get you what you need.
Good.
Hey there, kids. Need some violent video games?
Gosh, that's
Us
where it's
Canadians
going.
got you covered.
Thanks, Canada.
That's where it's going.
Oh man, it just
Comes with free maple syrup.
stop. You're gonna sell me on this. But anyhow,
No, I do want some Canadian maple syrup.
so Anime North.
Hey,
Just saying.
let's get some heckin' pancakes.
Just saying. Timmy Hose. Because, Timmy Hose.
I don't know what that is.
Ah.
I've never been to Canada.
So, your whole coffee addiction,
Yeah?
but Canadian, with maple syrup. Anyhow.
In the coffee?
Oh, well, not necessarily, but you probably can. Shoot. Bagged
You
milk.
would.
Bagged milk, maple syrup, and all of their pastries. Anyhow. Okay. Let's see. Yes, I'm looking at everyone else as they're discussing all. Yeah, as Grayfield puts it, tree sauce.
Tree sauce.
That's awesome.
Delicious
I
tree
have
sauce.
never heard that.
Tree blood.
Oh, yes, and the poutine up there is legit. I literally had the best poutine of my life. Like was it? Yeah, it wasn't actually St. Catherine's. So yeah, poutine and beaver tails. Don't you know? Anyhow, so I do rant a bit about this because it hurts me that. I mean, it's nothing new for politicians to get into things they don't understand and don't know anything about, but when you're at that high level, gosh, if you couldn't read a book ever or study at least something that shows what the truth is before you talk about it. And it hurts me how much, and I again, politics for a moment, GOP, when science is not your friend, what the heck are you doing? God, there's so many examples of where the truth is not happening.
Canada is amazing, and you are missing out.
I did enjoy me some Canada. Just saying.
Good.
I need to check out the west coast of Canada
Except for the
next.
French Canadians. They're kind of mean.
You just gotta be
They're
in the
like
right
the
places.
geese of Canada.
Okay, I'm looking forward to Greyfield's response on that one. That's great. Okay,
They're violent, man.
I do have one more article
The
that
War
is
of 1812.
timely, and I want to bring up for people's attention so you can do your part. One of the other topics that we like to bring up a lot is that of things about net neutrality. And so, as a heads up, because we know that the current administration hates you and your freedoms. Well, the FCC, and this is coming from Fortune.com, so Fortune magazine, the FCC just gave net neutrality supporters 60 days to save the web as we know it. Now, this is a couple days older, so it's not quite 60 right now. But the clock is ticking for those who want to save net neutrality in the U.S., as after the Federal Communications Commission contentious decision to scrap the rule was officially published in the Federal Register on Thursday, February 22nd. The new rule will go into effect on April 23rd, 60 days after its publication in the Register. That is, unless someone manages to push back successfully. Net neutrality is a principle that says no internet traffic should get special treatment or be blocked or degraded on the basis of a company's willingness to pay for its smooth transmission. It was mandated as an Obama-era FCC move that the agency, now under Republican control, voted to rescind in mid-December because they hate you and they love companies. On Thursday, as the rule was published in the Federal Register, a coalition of 23 state attorneys generals launched a lawsuit against the FCC decision, asking the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit to review the rollback. Quote, "An open internet and free exchange of ideas it allows is critical to our democratic process," said Eric Schneiderman, the New York Attorney General who is leading the charge. Quote, "Repealing net neutrality will allow internet service providers to put corporate profits over consumers by controlling what we see, do, and say online. Consumers and businesses in New York and across the country have the right to a free and open internet, and our coalition of Attorney General won't stop fighting to protect that right."
Woo!
Yes. Oh, yes.
They're trying.
And so,
That's not going anywhere.
as
I
I,
will
well,
tell you.
so now that the FCC's rule change has been published, Congress can pass a resolution to block it within the ensuing 60 days. It's unlikely to come to vote due to the opposition, Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Paul Ryan, GOP scrubs that are... I have no good words for them. How dare you call yourselves representatives of people? It is unlikely to come past because of them, but Markey has 50 senators on his side, and the Democratic Representative Mike Doyle, who also is on board, has 143 co-sponsors in the House. Essentially what this is saying is, hey kids, hey people, get out there and talk to your representatives. They are supposed to represent you. And so if you want to save net neutrality, I don't care if you're Republican or Democratic, if you like the internet, if you like having access to information and not having companies tell you what you can and see here, because we're not North Korea, we're not China, then how about you tell your local representative to not deal with this BS, to not rescind the Title II enforcement of the FCC ruling? Because this is only being done to support ISPs, who are not your friend. They're freaking monopolies over your access to information. Mm-hmm. We need competition. We need good access to the internet. And
Here in the information age, it would be stupid and wrong of us to intentionally allow ourselves to be cut off from said information.
Here. And, I mean, Akko, from your perspective as a lawyer, we've talked about this some, right? But the risk of us allowing the FCC to change this, it's huge.
It is huge, mainly because what they're doing is they're converting what is generally thought of to be just sort of free public stuff to more private corporate use, which is not good. But, and there's several ways that they're challenging it. The attorneys general are trying their best. Realistically, the only ways that would work would be if the FCC screwed up somehow in their rule passing procedure. Most of the time they don't. Or if they exceeded their authority, which there's maybe a slight bit of question whether they did. Realistically, there's a small chance. So anyone who follows quote-unquote legal experts, and hear legal experts talking, whenever you hear that, it just means that they managed to get a hold of a lawyer who wasn't too busy to talk to them. So there's still some dispute among legal experts whether this challenge will go anywhere. Some of the quote-unquote leading legal experts think that maybe there's a 10% chance that
this is
the
going to be
Attorneys
bad.
General will win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's actually going to happen. The nice thing is, at least with the net neutrality ruling, representatives have actually started listening to their constituents and realizing that it could affect them in the midterms, that they may not get reelected if they don't listen to their people. So guess what? You do have a voice. As much as it's easy to be cynical in this environment and think that we have no power, you do. You can vote out the people who aren't representing you. You can vote in others. You can run yourself. You can push for certain things. I mean, it sucks because you have to get active and you have to do something, but do it, right? I'm using this platform I have to at least tell people to be active. I try to avoid, for the most part, the partisanship part of it and say what my specific views are. I'm getting you on this one because this is the internet and what I love. But I'm telling people, regardless, if you believe in something, make sure your representatives represent you. If they don't, vote them out, vote against them. Don't vote freaking party lines. Vote for people who are actively saying they're going to do the things that you care about.
And following through on it.
And because I will argue, as much as people were in an environment today in politics where people feel like you can only be one side or the other, which is complete crap, most people have views that span the gambit of how far or how severely they feel on any issue. And if you go to specific issues, you'll find that most people have fairly what are traditionally considered like liberal or conservative views, depending on the subject. Almost nobody has one or the other, and that's all the way around. So just don't buy into that hype. Don't buy into that BS that you can only be one side or the other, that it's just an us versus them thing. That's crap. The us versus them is us as people versus the representatives and the people we've elected, whose only job is to get reelected once they get there. Your job is to make sure, our job is to make sure and hold them accountable for them doing what they said they would. God, I got political here.
See, well, I was just going to say
it's
that.
all good information, though. Like, yes. Sorry.
Go ahead. So the multiple party system is it's perpetuated on the idea that an individual's say doesn't count unless you're going for what you think is going to be the winner. And in many ways it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because people say, "Oh, I'm just not gonna, they're gonna win anyway." Because they don't do that, it's up to someone else. My voice doesn't matter. Well, eventually that's why you're getting turnouts in the 40% determining how things go. Because everyone just decides, the majority decide, we're going to lose anyway, we're just going to stay home. And for something like this...
You let the vocal minority win.
Right. And it's because the people who actually have power just stayed home. And on net neutrality in particular, if the federal representatives aren't doing anything, and I know I've said this before, do the state representatives. You will definitely have more sway there, because guess what? Turnout is often very, very low. You're looking at the teens, 20s, maybe a good day is a 30% turnout. There's a lot of room to sway them. Why do I say this? Some of the most effective challenges to the net neutrality rule involve states, not because it's challenging it directly. Lots of states are doing what's called purchase contracts. Basically, they're saying, we're not going to work with you for state contracts, very, very valuable, if you don't commit to net neutrality. So if we catch you doing this, you will lose your contracts.
Which is what I brought up the last show we did a couple weeks ago, that exists.
That is one of the most effective challenges, because there's very little that the FCC or the federal government can do about that. And there's legal reasons why, but basically it's because the state is acting as a purchaser, a buyer. And in that capacity, they can kind of do what they want. They can say, I don't want to work with you if you're, killing orphans in a different country. I mean, it's the same kind of idea, that when the state is buying something, they can determine, who they want to buy from and why. So if at all, push on the states, because there's dozens of states now that are starting to get in on that approach, and it's actually being somewhat concerning for the ISPs. Yeah, they may have won on the federal stage, but there's still plenty that can be done in a way that they can't stop. And that's just a matter of making it happen.
Yeah. Anyhow, so I apologize everyone for going slightly over. It actually kind of equals out to having started slightly late, getting everything started here. But I thank you for at least listening in and seeing what our opinions were of this. I try to keep you informed and let you know when I think time-critical things are happening. If you think what I'm doing is incorrect, or if you disagree with my opinions, please let me know. I mean, I'm curious to hear every side of it. I can't get better without the knowledge. These are just my opinions, and those shared in the room here, and I'd love to hear yours. Best way to reach us so that we talk about it and get your information out there as well is to email in the show at showx@vtwproductions.com. We check through it every week to see what you guys have written in about. And if you have any questions about what we've been doing, any comments about the topics we've talked about, or anything you'd like us to cover in future episodes, just let us know. Especially with any of the kind of things, or if you'd like to hear more of the geeky background stuff we're doing with DTG printing and 3D printing and all the printing and making we do, to sewing and cosplays and all those things, let us know.
Talk about that for hours on its own.
God, yes we can.
Its own podcast.
She needs a Zelda show.
I am planning. No, you don't understand. When the Zelda show comes on, I'm bringing on special guests. I will be here to moderate and ask questions as a layman, because I will be. But there's going to be some Greyfield on that one. There's going to be some Hyde on that one. And there's going to be some others that have the knowledge who have been playing and really know. Because I'm going to learn a lot. So, yes,
You want
may
to talk lore? You want to talk language lore? Which one? Written or spoken? Let's go.
get ready for the new podcast on VTW Productions called
Yeah! Yeah!
So,
It could be done.
but like I said, we may do either a show or a special one-off, where we will record a pre-recorded or kind of a different time frame for people to just talk Zelda. If you're interested in it, let us know. We'd like to know, because it's been cooking around here for a while. Anyhow, as we talk about potentials and possibilities, it's time for us to end the show. Thank you very much for joining us on ShowX and VTWProduction.com. Very special thank yous to Hide My Air and to Akko for joining me and having this talk, as we are not joined by Ken this week. And yes, you, Greyfield, because you're one of my Zelda experts. Accept that.
We gonna talk.
Yes, there needs to be some information
I would
sharing.
love to nerd about Zelda with you.
So, yes, you. And I've tried to get you to do a show forever now, because you also have all the old school lore. So thank you, everybody, and check me out at DocDead on the tweeters. Predictably Ham for my cosplay, and of course DocDead everywhere else on the interwebs. Unless you've stolen my account, in which case, if I find you, I will hunt you down
It's happened
with a
couple times this
specific
weekend.
set of skills. No. Also,
catch me at Hide My Error Cosplay, mostly on Facebook, but I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't tweet often. It's mostly just regurgitated Instagram. But hey, catch me at Hide My Error. And catch me on Color Me Impressed, which I also just made a Facebook page for, and we're working on the website for it. If you have things that you want to discuss, you can email us at cmi.fashion.printing@gmail.com. You can just ask us questions, send us things that you're interested in. We can chat if you consider wanting anything. We can talk prices and blah blah, work stuff out. Catch me there.
We're Zenko Akko Cosplay and Guildhall Galatea. So if you've got interesting fancy machines, let us know.
yeah, if you got some great equipment that you're willing to let go cheap, hey.
Or no businesses going out of business, or trying to get rid of machines that still work, but
Are taking up place in your, and because you've upgraded or doing something new.
expensive paperweights. We're willing to discuss acquisitions with
it's
you.
true.
So,
Hit us up, please. Please.
so thank you everyone for checking out the show. We appreciate it, and catch us every week on ShowX at VTWProduction.com, now on Twitch as well as on the YouTubes. We really appreciate it, and share us out with your friends, because why not share something you love with those around you? All right, everybody, we will catch you again next week. Have a good time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.